So it's now time that we move on to the next session. And before moving on to the next session, just 1 second, I want to ask you all a very simple question. And I want to answer it in your mind. In the last 1 week, how many times did you check the map? Or you used technology to order something online? Or maybe you used an app to just quietly solve a problem that has been with you. And if your answer was multiple times, then we are at the right place. Because I think that's exactly how technology is supposed to work. It's supposed to penetrate in our life and make our life easier. This session, the session that we'll be taking forward to, is from maps to market, building technological platform that powers India, everyday India, explores how digital platform moves beyond innovation tabs into homes, into sheets, into businesses, and into daily decisions as well. With this, it's now time that I call on stage the moderator for the session, Mr. Atul Kapur, owner of Kings and Knights Heritage Hotels Pvt Limited, to please join us here on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it up for our moderator. A big warm welcome, sir. We're really looking forward to the entire discussion. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, sir. It's now time that I also welcome our speakers, and I'll request our moderator to welcome our speaker with a bouquet. I'll request to please kindly come on stage. Our speaker, Shri Amitabh Nag, CEO, BHASHINI Division, Digital India and Director, Digital India Corporation DIC, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it up for our speaker. A big warm welcome, sir. I'm sure that we're going to have great insights in this entire session. And let's welcome our speaker with a bouquet. Thank you so much, sir, for giving your time and for joining us in this discussion. Everybody, let's hear it up for our speaker. I would now like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Ashim Patil, MD and CEO, Infotek Software System, to please join us here on stage. And I'd request our moderator to please welcome him with a bouquet as well. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here and for giving us our time. I'm sure that this discussion is going to give us an entirely different insight about technology and how we are supposed to look at it and how it can actually impact us on a deeper level, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship and startups. Let's hear it up for both our speakers, for our moderators, and for this session that's definitely going to give a deep insight on technology. Thank you so much.
So two very good examples of technology being taken down to the bottom of the pyramid to impacting a lot of lives. India has traditionally been a very English-speaking country, especially when we look at it from the point of view of education. And BHASHINI is a great example of how we are now empowering the entire country to be able to educate themselves, to be able to express themselves, and to take technology down to every state of India with all the languages that are there. So starting off with BHASHINI first, sir. We'd like to know from you how far have you been really able to penetrate, considering that you're doing about 22 languages, am I right? So 22 languages, and how far have you been able to enable technology to go down, and what is the real value that people are deriving from it?
So, to sum it up, if I say that we touch every citizen today with our services and products, with a partnership with Aadhaar, that is UIDAI, that's the bottom line. So we are basically with everybody in terms of the translation or transliteration services. Besides that, if I am basically looking at the last mile as the solution piece, we have other solution pieces also, and you saw yesterday and in the morning also the transcript and translation being carried out right on the stage. So we are there with every panchayat today. So the e-Gram Swaraj product which was basically a ERP for panchayats, which the panchayats used to report. That is currently multilingual, and it is being used widely by the sarpanch at their own language. And panchayats, mind you, were in English before this particular setup. The second thing which panchayats are doing is, the panchayat meetings which used to happen, those meetings used to basically get translated and then put on paper by, the panchayat sahayaks or sachivs. If you are, you see the serial panchayat, the sachiv's job was to create that minutes of meetings and send it to the ministry. There were biases and there were things which were omitted and there were favoritism which was there. Besides the fact that, whether the actual minutes are going to the ministry was a question. That has changed now because what panchayats do is audio record that meeting or video record that meeting, send it back to the ministry, and those audio recordings are transcribed and the minutes are generated automatically and presented to the ministry. So that's the sea change. Currently, if you go to Sabhasad or portal of Ministry of Panchayats, you would find that about 94,000 videos have already been uploaded. Currently, it is about 12 or 13 languages, and there are more which are joining in. So that's another example where we have reached now. The other place where we are reached, we are working with Ministry of Rural Development. So we, the Lakpati Didi program which is there, they have their program of entrepreneurship of ladies who can actually become Lakpati over a period of time. 1 crore of them are the targets, and all of them use our Bhashini app to actually communicate when they are in the entrepreneurship drive or they are trying to sell something. And the ministry communicates with them through the system because often minister or the officer does not know the local language who are traveling from Delhi or otherwise, and they use this translation mechanisms to use it. So those are 3 examples which says that where we have reached as far as the last mile is concerned from a perspective of what do we do. So we are, if you actually look at it, when the last mile comes in, our mission was to transcend the language barrier, that means remove the language divide and then move forward. But with voice as a medium, what we have been able to do is to bridge the digital divide as well as the literacy divide. So, if you are able to speak out and get things done from digital systems, you are actually going in that direction. So that is the enhancement or the thought process which is brought in. And with voice journeys and voice first environment, we have some unique use cases which have now being started. Besides, of course, we are now on a drive to actually make all websites multilingual in 22 languages, which itself will be a good policy dissemination point. And then also like a simple system of transcribing what I am saying, and for example, if this was the same transcription system was used in Pondicherry for transcribing what Honorable Prime Minister was saying in Bal Divas, Veer Bal Divas. In Tamil, it was again bridging the digital divide. Minister of Communication often uses when he's going to the Dak Sevaks and addressing them. Means if he is in Karnataka, then he is speaking in English and it gets translated in Kannada. If he's in Gujarat, again he is speaking in English. It gets translated in Gujarati, Hindi, English or Hindi, depending upon the choice and the way it goes across. So a lot of communication barriers which we had earlier, have now started getting removed.
We see a lot of this that has happened in governance, but how much of it is really getting into the world of literacy in education? I mean, we've heard a lot of talk about, examinations like NEET to be done in different languages. The point is that, is it possible to do medical education? Is it possible to do engineering education in these different languages? How far are we from it? And if we really get down to doing it in these various regional languages, do you think there'll be a difference between those that are doing it in English and those that are doing it in language? How will they be able to merge, and is that a mission for your future?
Yeah, see, we have been long living in the illusion a person good in language is also good in knowledge. That's the illusion which we have, and our generation at least carries that illusion. Next generation may not carry that illusion, and that is the effort. As far as a lot of actually effort has gone in translating medical and engineering books into the local languages, and there is an effort which will go in, and most of it is a translation outside the digital system or the platform system. So, you know, I'm not able to give you exact statistics, but there is an effort which is in that direction also. So there is going to be a difference. If you see Chinese, for examples, they are doing their things in their own language. Japanese are doing their things on their own language. French are using French everywhere. So, and they are doing well. So, you know, it is not that if you study in mother tongue, if you think in mother tongue, and if you don't have the burden of learning another language to be good in knowledge, you will obviously, there is obviously better chances for you to do well. That does not mean that you should not learn another language. You should as many as you can, but that should not be necessary to gain the knowledge in a particular domain or a subject. And that's something which is, on track for us. And that myth of, as I said in the beginning, that somebody who is good in language is also good in knowledge has to be broken, and there are good chances that we will be able to break it.
Mr. Ashim Patil, he's the MD and CEO of Infotek Software and Systems, and he's the one who's helped us breeze through highways with the FASTag. He's the one who's developed that. Now, FASTag is there, but just one question about FASTag. When you go to European highways and expressways, you're able to go through the tolls at a much higher speed than we manage here. There are times when we have to come and slow down and probably move your car back a little bit and forward a little bit, and that creates big jams. So what is the future of FASTag, and do you see us being able to zip through tolls in the future?
Hi. Thank you for that question, actually. So, what we see overseas, like if you have traveled in the US, like the Easy Pass, or in China, and what we see in India, there, on the technology front, it's not a challenge. You know, the technology is such that you can drive at the speed of 200 kilometers per hour, and still the vehicle can be identified. You know, it is basically what we call it as free flow passing. You know, and in India today we follow the plaza. You know, so we in our democratic system, you know, if we look at how the electronic toll collection journey has begun in 2009. You know, I applied for this patent in March 2009, you know, tax collection of vehicles using RFID. And since then, first of all, getting our country from cash payments to the digital payments on the tolling, you know, that itself was a bigger challenge to begin with, you know. Secondly, in India, it is the only toll collection system globally where there is no single vendor who is doing the tolling. There are more than 100 plus empaneled vendors. Globally, if you see, there is one single vendor doing the entire tolling for the country, you know. And then there are different stakeholders. There are banks who are the issuing companies there, for the FASTag. There are concessionaires who are putting the infrastructure. So there are more than 5 to 10 different entities involved in one plaza getting onto the toll collection, electronic toll collection. So it is a very unique democratic way of deploying a technology. Secondly, the plaza thing which is there in the country today on national highways is basically even if the highway is a national highway, the plaza is a state government entity, and if you are not paying the toll, the fine has to be imposed by the state government, and there has to be a settlement between the state and the center, which needs to be avoided. And that's the reason we are having the plaza. It's not for your vehicle to stop so that the technology can sense the tag. It's not because of that. However, if you have recently traveled on the Atal Setu, or if you have recently traveled between Mumbai-Pune Expressway, it is almost free flow. You are not stopping your vehicle. But the government is having plans now for gantry-based tolling, where the plazas will be removed. There is some provisions to be made in the Motor Vehicle Act before we implement that. But the trials are going on. So technology-wise, we are through. Secondly, in our country, it is we users also. Our civic sense has to be much more improvised. We see people going at the plaza and updating the balance. So if one vehicle stops, there's a whole queue in the back, So, and it's a long way our country has, walked on this particular revolution. Today, more than 6 crore vehicles are tagged electronically, and we collect around 200 crore rupees every day. And that itself is an achievement. We have come from tolling system where आपको छुट्टे पैसे की जगह चॉकलेट हाथ में थमाया जाता था. वहाँ से आज हम इलेक्ट्रॉनिक टोलिंग तक पहुँचे. And technology adoption in our country, and it is not tolling only as an example. हम लोगों ने this type of solutions we have also done for Indian customs. पहले if I can share that experience also. पहले हमारे country में जब हम इंडिया की बात कर रहे हैं, ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस की बात कर रहे हैं, जो हमारा कॉरपोरेट सिटीजन है हु इज़ एक्सपोर्टर, उसको यहाँ पे जितने भी एक्सपोर्टर्स बैठे हैं, यू मस्ट हैव एक्सपीरियंस दैट आपको अपना माल फिनिश्ड गुड अगर स्टफ़ करना है कंटेनर में, अर्लियर यू यूज्ड टू कॉल अ एक्साइज ऑफिसर, उसके सामने आपको स्टफिंग करना पड़ता था, एंड दैट यूज्ड टू क्रिएट अ लार्ज बॉटलनेक. वहाँ से लेके आज हमने RFID टेक्नोलॉजी को सेल्फ सीलिंग पे भी लेके आए. सो टुडे जैसे हमने टोलिंग में हमारे देश में इम्पैक्ट आया है, UPI ने जैसे पेमेंट में किया जो हमने टोलिंग में किया, वैसा एक्सपोर्ट कंटेनर्स और इंपोर्ट कंटेनर्स में भी वो इम्पैक्ट आया है. एंड इम्प्लीमेंटिंग अ टेक्नोलॉजी इन अ डेमोक्रेटिक सिस्टम लाइक इंडिया and doing something in a Salik in a UAE or a Dubai, these are two different things.
Yeah, very interesting. The kind of things that are happening with the Internet of Things and, the physical internet as we call it. Now, you've also spoken about reducing the logistics, as a percentage of the GDP from 14% of GDP, the logistics cost, to 8% of GDP through the identity of things. So what does the identity of things really mean, and how do you think that's going to happen?
See, there's a lot of digital transformation everybody's talking about, and AI is a buzzword, So if we go back in the if I can quote an example of banking में जब automation implement हो रहा था, so core banking चोपड़ी से, you used to go on a counter, register में आपका balance update होता था, cash गिना जाता था, वहाँ से ATM पर हम पहुँचे, जहाँ पे cash automatically dispense होता था, customer was getting identified. There were many banks, who used to think कि हमें banking software की क्या ज़रूरत है, हमारा बैंक तो चल रहा है बिना सॉफ्टवेयर के. बट जब उन्होंने हर गली नुक्कड़ में ATM देखा बड़े बैंकों का, देन एवरीबडी थॉट कि नहीं मुझे ATM चाहिए. हाँ, मुझे अगर ATM चाहिए तो मुझे कोर बैंकिंग सॉफ्टवेयर इंप्लीमेंट करना पड़ेगा. दैट वाज द रिवर्स जर्नी. वैसे ही आज हम लोग जो डेटा कैप्चर टेक्नोलॉजी पे काम कर रहे हैं, RFID और या IoT में, what we are actually doing is in the digital transformation, we are creating a digital twin of the physical product. Okay, ultimately आप digital transformation कर रहे हैं कोई भी business में to fulfill a physical product. आपको physical product delivery की बहुत ज़रूरत है. So in this journey, what we are seeing with the AI becoming so popular, what people have started realizing is the data which they are churning or analyzing on, वो 6 महीने पुराना या 1 साल पुराना data है. It is highly inaccurate data when it comes to supply chain या inventory का data, and that is leading to the implementation of digital identification of an object. जहाँ पे vision technology है, जहाँ पे barcode जैसा technology बहुत popular है, और RFID is one of the important technology. Why RFID is becoming popular or becoming more important in this journey is because अगर आपने बारकोड को देखा है, अगर आपको कोई प्रोडक्ट स्कैन करना है तो लाइन ऑफ साइट की ज़रूरत होती है, और अगर आपको स्कैन करना है तो यू हैव टू स्कैन वन आइटम एट अ टाइम. इन RFID you don't need line of sight. Okay, the tag can be embedded inside the product. Okay, and you can scan a whole carton which can have 100 items in it in a single pass. So you get speed, you get accuracy, and you get ease of use because there is no line of sight. Secondly, barcode कोई भी duplicate कर सकता है, but RFID में जो आपका FASTag है या e-seal है container का, it has got a unique serial number like your mobile IMEI, the semiconductor, which is a read-only number, which is unique globally, जिसकी वजह से security आ रही है. So all these aspects, and then it is passive. A life of a RFID tag is 50 years. It is warranted for 50 years. आज अगर हम देखें, हमने even सरदार पटेल Statue of Unity में हमारे कंपनी में 9,000 RFID tags लगाए हैं. बाहर से statue जो आपको दिख रहा है, if you go into the shaft from the inside, you will find RFID tags on every bronze panel of that statue. And the life which we have given for that panel identification is 50 years. So digital identification is very, very important in this transformation, and that is where a technology like RFID is playing an important role.
So what are the opportunities that emerge for entrepreneurs in this particular field? I mean, what's next after this? And in terms of logistics, how is this whole logistics cost going to come down using RFID, and what can people do? I mean, what are the products that you have, or what are the products that they should be thinking of developing to reduce logistics costs in a big way and to keep track at the same time?
See, it is a track and trace technology. जब हम track और trace बोलते हैं, it's a very commonly used thing, but RFID is more on the traceability. So we call it supply chain traceability. We don't call it supply chain trackability. So it is a tracing technology where you are tracing a source. Okay, and there are a lot of use cases being built in and around it. So to our entrepreneurs in India, whenever we are starting on our entrepreneurial journey, there are two areas where you can pick. Either you can pick a technology and get into the research side of it, जो हमारे देश में because of the funding thing or the mindset we have, it's a very difficult journey if you are building a research-based enterprise, in our country. Other thing you can do is what entrepreneurs like I have done. We pick a technology and build use cases, on that technology in different verticals. So in RFID, because supply chain traceability and inventory count, inventory management are the two important aspects for every business, whether it is pharmaceutical, whether it is defense logistics, whether it is retail, whether it is healthcare, or whether it is manufacturing, including automotive manufacturing. What my appeal to the entrepreneurs would be to identify technologies like RFID, see the potential. If you look at the potential also of our technology, in 2025, we tagged around 54 billion objects globally, which contributed the value of these objects for around 17 trillion, and we are not even at the tip of the iceberg. The overall RFID market globally was $4 billion in 2025, which is growing at a CAGR of around 25%. So by 2030, we expect it to be a $10 billion market. And the objects which we intend to tag are going to run into trillions. So to give you an example, भारत में अगर आप देखोगे तो जो fashion apparel हम देख रहे हैं, you go to any Zudio store, you go to any West Side store, or you go to any Reliance retail store, whether it is Azorte, Gap or Trends, हर कपड़े पे हर जूते पे हमने चिप लगाई हुई है. So 300 करोड़ तो अभी हम सिर्फ कपड़े और जूते RFID tagged supply chain और inventory में कर रहे हैं, और ये पूरे logistics का जो 40% to 8% है, it is all going to come because of this transparency and traceability. And अभी तो हमने शुरुआत भी नहीं करी है. What we are envisaging, and we are building a platform for that now, कि India alone, will contribute to more than 30% of the RFID adoption globally, because of the consumer economy which we have in our country.
Do you see a merger between Bhashini and Internet of Things? Do you see all this as they put RFID tags in various products? Do we also now see how languages can help? And as we prepare the whole data stack for the country, what is the entrepreneurial usage of all these languages besides the administration and education, the likely ones?
You see, when we have looked at businesses and enterprises for long, we have looked at it as an English-centric thing. And while we work on governance and service delivery as the first pillar, because that's where the inclusivity and empowerment is required most, we are now looking at perspectives which are very different from the governance and service delivery aspects. Can I cut cost in an enterprise using languages as well as, voice? That's a journey which we are. Can I increase my sales using voice and languages? The answer is immediate yes, because you connect to more people. When you connect to more people and you use a medium of voice, you're connecting faster and you're actually, getting in emotional quotient out there. So there is a connect which actually from the perspective of demand side is going to obviously increase, and that's a perspective which we should be looking at. Currently, that is all happening mostly in English, or that is done by the local people, and people don't have the wherewithal to actually take it up. We currently are doing many things which are experimental and getting deployed at scale. So for example, we are providing in Maharashtra a system called Mahavistar, which is taking a farmer through a voice journey on the advisory of what crops he should be sowing, or what fertilizers or what other mechanisms he should be using. And that is given out of the database. He asks a question in Marathi and the answer is provided in Marathi. Now, if you look at that, and that also gives you the market information with respect to what is the best, price he can get for a certain things, and what are the trends, what are the other things which are there. Now, look at this particular thing, moving on to financial market, moving on to banking systems, moving on to the enterprise and the ERP systems which we have. And incidentally, there are discussions with respect to that, which is happening. Now, if you do that, then we are in a very different orbit, right? Currently, if you look at stock market, you need to know English to actually play in the stock market. Now, if you are a person who is on a local language and you are in a position to do that, you will be on a different orbit altogether. So, the voice journeys of retail, manufacturing, financial services, banking, insurance, coupled with the extended AI, can actually give a multiple things. Insurance has a lot of fine prints today, which, prohibits, means you perhaps would like to interact, or a person who does not know what insurance is all about, then he would like to perhaps talk to the person and then try to figure that out. Those fine prints can go away. So we see a lot of things which will happen in the commercial segments which will change, which today will be coming up as a use cases over a period of time. Now, one caution which has been, so you might ask that, can I deploy it tomorrow and can I work upon it? Unlike English language and other languages which are around, for us, as India, it has been a difficult journey. We would be perhaps about 2 to 3% of the digital data which is available. English is about 55 to 57%. Others are occupying that space. Now, if you don't have digital data, how do you build AI models? Because at the end of the day, AI models is all about digital data. We are trying, for about 6 to 7 languages, namely Hindi plus Gujarati, Marathi, we still had some data so that a rudimentary model could be made. But we didn't have enough data to make a model for say Sindhi or Bodo or Dogri, for examples, which are part of our 22 scheduled languages. Leave aside Mizo, Khasi, and all those languages. Now, if what we did in that situation was to generate and create data. So we had gone to the field with, about 200 plus translators who actually brutally collected digital data. So I would come to you and say that, look, you are organizing DigiFest, can you write a page in English and Hindi and give it to me or type it out, or I will type it out for you. You want to write it out, you give it to me. How do you speak and also write, so that's how we created the digital data. And the way we are implementing today is to actually go to a use case and then hit upon that use case to develop the glossary and the way they are taken across. So that's a big, work which we have been doing. And if you look at the use cases which we have deployed, we have tried to use that. Yesterday when we were talking and discussing this transcription, Thai was taken as Thai. That was a common thing which was identified by most of the people. But the challenge was that the model hadn't seen TIE, and it was basically taking that pronunciation as Thai. So, today it was doing Thai, So it is learnt in a day's time. So, the point which I'm trying to make is that we would have to work on those segments. Most of you have to come forward and say that, look, I will do a kind of use case with you, and then I will deploy it, and that will actually enhance the model. So we don't have an espresso solution here, but the fact that language is about 10,000 years old and we are trying to solve the problem in 2-3 years, I think we have made quite a good progress. The second thing which comes on voice journeys are there is that we have dialects. In Rajasthan, Rajasthani is one of the languages, or in Bolis, and then you have 2 versions of it. So it's again about 100 of them, right? So when we are trying to do all of that, we are supposed to be looking at all of this so that the society starts becoming inclusive. You only had 2 ways to do it. You asked people to learn another language and then settle, or you have, you build the AI models to do that. Earlier technology was not available to build the translation systems as per the so many variants, right? Today AI is available and GPU is available, so it's providing an opportunity for us to experiment in that direction, and we are increasingly becoming successful. So I think we would be in a position to merge these two, and when we are talking about businesses, entrepreneurs using these technologies, we are going to be quite okay. So what we are doing currently to inculcate that is, of course, we have a startup program which actually, gives the language APIs to people so that they can be using it for various applications. And some are language-centric applications, some use language as a portfolio to move forward. The second thing is, on the use cases, we are doing a lot of hackathons. Or innovation challenges, which actually use the technology and starts adapting them to the particular use cases. And that also is a program which is going on. So we are looking at a lot of things which can actually change. You know, one of the things which we perhaps would be in a very fast space to deploy is to see that can a doctor-patient conversation be multilingual, and can it be transcribed and transformed into a draft prescription which can then be edited and trans. And one of the things which we are also trying and ensuring that, you know, AI is used as an assistant rather than a final word. So I think we would be looking at a lot of convergence in the areas which you're talking about.
So very interesting. We have two examples. One, the public sector, the BHASHINI one the private sector, the FASTag, and there are so many others. There's so many other examples that are coming up as a part of Digital India, and we see that we're finally coming of age, able to build our own technologies for our systems in our languages with our problems, you know, instead of just adopting them from around the world. And it's a matter of great pride, and the entire ecosystem will benefit greatly from these and other such examples. Now, it's getting time for lunch, but we'll take a question or two. Can someone just give a mic?
So, even in this panel, we used English and Hindi interchangeably. So, don't you think that the time has come to accept English also as a language, or similarly other English combinations, and make it official 23rd language? Because if the present day generation, the way it communicates from WhatsApp to boardrooms to Bollywood to advertising, I mean, there is no conversation which is purely English or Hindi. And what could be the barriers if the government wants to make it official? Will there be a cultural resistance or something else? For example, like Turkey, when it became independent, it chose the Roman script but kept the language. So similarly, can we accept that the keyboard war is won by the Roman script like ABCD, but still we can retain our grammar and cultural context and adopt the English alphabets, but create a new language like English, which would have the English alphabets, but everything else is our own cultural grammar and syntax, which will be much more inclusive, right? Let's say the English-speaking population is 5 to 10%, and let's say the English population is 40 to 50%, so you will have a mass population engaging in the new generation AI technologies and be part of the revolution and contribute more to the economy and GDP and everything.
Okay, so let me put across the perspective, and this is a very wide and other dictionary. So, you know, what we think in Delhi is very different from what we think in Jaipur, and it's very different what we think in Bhopal. And I will try to cite some examples. We did a translation for a particular subject or a particular document, and biology we put as biology. It was quite acceptable, and we passed through the tests which are supposed to be done in Delhi. It was given to Bhopal as this thing. They said, why is biology biology, why not Jeev Shastra? So the first caveat to that particular discussion is that we should perhaps respect the language as a language, first thing. If there are variations, the dialects are always welcome. So English will become is going to be a language for some people, and the way we are accepting Indoriya Hindi and Jaipuriya Hindi and Lucknowi, Hindi, which is a mix of Urdu and all, we will accept English also as a language. And currently the models support, if you actually look at the translations which were happening yesterday, the English was taken as a base. So that should not be a challenge. The second question, and this will be in fact everywhere. If you look at Gujarati, if you look at, any other language, there will be English words which will start coming in. And there are reasons for that, is that most of the financial market and the scientific market and the technology market is having English words. And those English words have, the equivalents have not been done or is yet to be done on the other languages, which perhaps the language people can decide as whether they should be doing it or not doing it. The medical world, for example, has said that I will not try to do it. I will basically let paracetamol remain paracetamol. I will not try to find a Hindi name for paracetamol per se, right? And similar is the things with train and station. So there is a choice which we have to make at a certain places, and we will continue to make that choices, and the people will start making those choices. Now, the other part of the thing is about script versus, whether we should have a Roman script or a Devanagari script or a, Ole script or all those scripts. Now, in that situation, what I would like to say is that we are, looking at multiple things over a period of time. We are looking at language preservation. We are looking at ancient knowledge which has to come into the new system, because that is also valuable. And we are also looking at the history being preserved. Now, going by these objectives, changing a script of a language is not a wise idea as such. It is an idea which we will perhaps, it will be very people-centric. Today also, people transliterate. I write, Thiru, if a Tamilian has to write Thiru Amitabh Nag, you conveniently write Thiru and then try to pronounce it as Tamil. And most of us, we do not know the language, so we change the script and then speak the language. So we do that at our own personal choices, so that would remain. But officially, doing that may not be a right idea because we are having a civilization and a lineage which is quite old, and we want to actually bring it forward, learn from it, and also have the knowledge there. So that's what would be the perspective. Now, how the world changes later, we do not know, because whether artificial intelligence is Kritrim Buddhimitta, in Hindi, or we should be continuing with artificial intelligence is a debate which will be there, but we would let the market design it. And obviously the Gen Z is continuing to create new words, and it continues to get adopted into the system, and it will continue. Today, some of the Gen Z words which are there, which used to be considered as taboo in the normal conversation, has now come into the normal conversation. So that's societal change and the progress which will be there.
But for academics, we'll have to standardize something.
Yeah, so for academics, we are basically continuing to have a literal language which is there, right? So if you look at it, from a perspective of written and communication English or Hindi or any other language, we are stressing on purity of language, because that makes it quite clear. Now, if you look at, this comes from a few of the domains, like legal language, for example, you don't use a substitute word. Every word communicates certain things, and that is to be used in that domain. So, so-called synonyms is not so welcome in legal language. So, in academics, yes, we are reaching that particular word. And this is very, very challenging for us in Indian language, because a word actually communicates much more than meaning itself. मैं जाती हूँ actually communicates gender also. I am going does not communicate that which gender it is, right? So from that perspective, our languages are quite rich. You club everything as uncle in English, but when you say mama, you have communicated so many things along with it. So morphologically, our languages are quite rich, and I'm giving you very few examples. There are huge number of examples which comes across when you go to specifically the regional languages like Marathi or Tamil, and the morphological, and Sanskrit, for example, they are morphologically very, very rich. So and when we are using AI to do this, we do face those challenges of sorts, because we need to choose the right word to express right things. And often, as I said, synonyms cannot be the choices. It has to be different.
Yeah, one last question, please.
Yeah, Sadar Vande to all the speakers. So we all know, my name is Jatin Dhoot. I'm coming from Thai Jodhpur. I'm into software development business. So I have a question for Mr. Ashim Patil, sir. We all know about the great American gold rush and relevant success of Wells Fargo. So if you talk about RFID, which sectors do you think can generate the most of the demand, and it will be, and what software capabilities would be required at those point of time? If you can, I know it is a very broad question, but still.
So today, RFID has already slowly penetrated, everybody is carrying a RFID tag in their wallet. Your bank credit card, when you tap and pay, the media of communication, on your one single credit card also, there are 3 medias. You have a contact chip, you insert the card, you have a magnetic stripe where you swipe the card, and then there is tap. So the RFID is penetrated everywhere. It's in your credit card. On your mobile phone today, read NFC when you go to settings, whether it's an Android or an iPhone. When you go to settings and read NFC, near field communication, it is nothing but RFID. It's just happening in the near field. If you go on your vehicle, you have a FASTag. If you go to a mall, it is on a apparel or a clothing. So basically, in people identification, animal identification, and object identification. So every business, if you have to categorize, it is movement of either people, goods, capital, or data from point A to point B. How it can be done in a faster way, easier way, more economical way, more efficient way is what businesses are doing. Out of these movements, people, animal, and objects is what RFID will focus on. Okay, because they are physical products, which can be tagged. So when you talk about the software part of it, the gap which is identified or which companies like you should identify and explore more is, I gave an example of a banking software and an ATM. Now for this, we are moving from computerization to automation. Okay, so the integration layer, is where companies like you and I, we should focus on. Then how easy it is to integrate, how easy it is to onboard on the technology, building APIs in and around it, the application layers in and around it, wherever the gaps are. So this is where our companies should focus on. And we should focus on building such platforms, rather than building products, And if we are able to build these platforms and make it more affordable, then I think the technology will be able to penetrate much faster. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Sir.
Okay, one last one, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much. You have ministry also a very good outsourcing of the digital India. I am very thankful to the ministry. My point is that in the context of climate change and renewable energy systems, presently we are facing everywhere the climate change problem. At the grassroots level, 70% population is living in rural areas. We have the Prime Minister's Vishkarma Yojana. They have 18 categories, but there is no category on the solar sector. So why not could they create the Solar Didi project, give the 3 weeks training, 15,000 rupees as a kit, and produce the off-grid industry in rural areas to make the solar energy sustainable as a whole India, as a topmost Indian entity in the solar energy application.
I think the only thing which I can say is that I'll take your words and try to communicate it to the policymakers to do this. And of course, your point is valid. Solar sector is a sector which we should be focusing on. And if there can be some validation with respect to this, it should be welcome.
Okay, it's time for lunch. I'm sorry, no more questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Nag and Mr. Patil, and for the wonderful things that you're doing as a part of Digital India and taking us forward. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the session. Really enjoyed all the insights you shared, and I'm sure that now people understand more about how technology is penetrating and how it's genuinely helping us. I'll now request our moderator to please felicitate our speakers. And everybody sitting here in this room, I'm sure that this conversation gave us a lot of insights, and the only way we can tell them thanks, the only way we can let them know that yes, everything they shared has given us a new insight and a new perspective is by clapping. Just let them know that yes, we are there and we really acknowledge everything you said. So thank you so much to our speakers once again, and thank you to the moderator as well for bringing all the things so beautifully together and for the seamless conversation.